Melanie Collette is a passionate conservative and active leader in the New Jersey State Republican Party and appears weekly on the Newsmax television show American Agenda. So, Melanie, thank you for joining us. I know you also have your own radio show. You're an accountant. There's all kinds of great things that you do, but I'm happy that you're part of Project 21. As you were listening to Donna share the vision, the blueprint, is anything coming to your mind that you wanted to share from the conversation you were listening to?
As I was listening, I was like, what is he going to ask me? I think they covered everything. I think they covered everything. But I do, it's such a privilege to be a part of an organization like Project 21. And one of the things that I think that makes our organization so important is that we continue to destroy the narrative of the traditional uh, civil rights policies that are put before Black people. That, our existence means that the world knows that Black people are not a monolith, that we actually do think differently, that we think for ourselves, that some of us do think that America is the greatest country on the planet, and that the Constitution is a very good thing that we should go by. And I just really enjoy the work that I do for Project 21, and being able to promote policies and strategies that not only help Black Americans, but help every American.
Right. And really, if you help the Black community, you help the American community as well. So it's a win win for everyone. And can you talk to me about the blueprint, the specific platform Project 21 has for real solutions for Black America? Let's talk about education. Anything that you want to share in that regard?
Yes, education is definitely in my wheelhouse. I used to be a former educator. One thing that I love about the blueprint is that it really hits on the things that are majorly important in society in general, but not just for Black folks. But criminal, all the things that the traditional civil rights movement does regarding criminal justice and critical race theory and education, like you said, overcoming barriers for Black Americans. One of the ways is through school choice, which there are policymakers that are very much against school choice, which I can't figure out why unless you have some kind of agenda. They are very much for, and I think Donna alluded to this earlier, for replacing the nuclear family. They want the government to be the new family, the government to be the new parent. And what Project 21 says about that in their blueprint is that that's not what we're going to do. We're going to get back to family. We're going to promote school choice because that is what is beneficial for Black and brown children, not to be stuck in these schools that are not making any progress. There was a recent statistic, I believe it was out of Baltimore, that none of the kids can do math at grade level. That's what you get in a government run school. And they continue to promote these kids. And I have always, it's been my position that it really is a racist policy that they have going on. And it's insidious because they tell you that the reason why we are going to let these kids go to the next grade without being able to read and without making grade level is because we're helping the Black and brown community, when you're doing the absolute opposite. You're setting them up for failure. You're setting them up to be controlled. You're setting them up to need the government so that they have no power. So it really is a reverse situation. The policies are literally racist policies. So that's why things like school choice are so important, making sure that we don't have any more of the COVID lockdowns that we had during COVID, which were ridiculous and not following the science at all. And of course, negatively affected predominantly Black and brown kids and kids in rural communities as well, that just didn't have access to the internet, or maybe didn't have their own Chromebook or laptop. Sometimes you had homes with two or three kids in them that had to do school at the same time. Well, not every family could afford two or three laptops for kids to work separately on their schoolwork all day. So it was really a big problem. And the big government mentality is a problem for everyone, but for Black and Brown people especially. And Project 21 strongly believes in getting away from that and adhering to the Constitution, which is why I love being with this organization.
School choice used to be so controversial because people were saying, oh, it would take money away from the schools, and the schools really need the money to do everything. But now that we've seen the education system deteriorate and turn into indoctrination centers and have this radical ideology, people are really realizing that there is no other option besides school choice. We need to be able to take our tax money and put it into an education system that we actually believe in. So that seems very important. Can you talk about election integrity and how this affects the Black community?
Certainly. It's very important that our votes do not get diluted. And there are policymakers right now that are hell bent, if you excuse my language, on making sure that the Black vote gets diluted. One of the ways that they're doing this is by being against these voter ID laws, which makes cheating during the voting cycle rampant. And again, they do it in an insidious way, like they do everything else, by saying things like Black and Brown communities can't get voter ID, and that they'll have all these problems if you hold them accountable. But what voter integrity laws actually do is make sure that every vote counts. And what they're saying about Black people and IDs is just patently not true, and very racist. But it is shocking to me how many Black people find that narrative and that policy acceptable. Voter integrity is
Right.
very important. It's important that only citizens be allowed to vote. There is a push afoot, if you will, to have people who are not American citizens be able to vote, even in federal elections. It's a slippery slope. They started off saying, well, if you're in a municipality, you should be able to vote, even if you're not here legally. It does not make sense. It's done very much on purpose so that individual people's votes are diluted and that certain people have power while Black and Brown people continue to not have power. And it is
Right.
problematic.
Yeah, it is interesting how they can use the race card for almost any issue, including apparently voter IDs are somehow racist. But the more they do that, the less powerful the word racist becomes. So at this point, it's become such a joke that it doesn't mean anything when someone calls you a racist. So in some ways, they're taking away the power of their own words. But I was hoping you could talk about economic opportunities, energy policy, affordable energy for Black Americans. This is something that's in the blueprint, and I was curious about this.
Certainly. Well, one of the things that is really problematic right now is the green agenda. I happen to live in the state of New Jersey, and I'm no climate denier, but I certainly don't believe, like some politicians believe, that the Earth is going to be destroyed. And I think we're down to 9 years now. Um, the green agenda actually hurts Black and Brown people, and so what the blueprint make sure that people are aware of when they read it is that it actually these policies hurt Black and Brown people. Many times the policies that are put in place in the name of green energy actually hurt our communities. If you do away with coal, then people who have these opportunities for well-paying coal jobs in the coal industry, like Black and Brown people, will not be able to have those jobs. You can't the infrastructure isn't there in many of your urban communities where there may or may not be concentrations of Black and Brown people to have an electronic car. Even though the government provides, I think it's a $7,500 grant to get an electric car. Some people don't even pay more than $7,500 for their car. You still can't afford a $60,000 electronic car. And so who are these benefits really for? Are they really for Black and Brown people? And when you hear such things espoused, I just wonder what Black people they are talking to. They just
That's a
continue
good
to
point.
put
That they release these $60,000 cars. They try to make them a little bit cheaper, but only the upper middle class and upper class can afford them. So it's not for everyone, not benefiting everyone. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask you about health and wellness. This is a crisis for all of America. We're going to talk about your blueprint in Project 71 as soon as we come back.